Jonathan.
I was 5.5 when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
Insulin in Schools, A Child's Right. 14,000 children in California have diabetes. Ricky Moreno, District Nurse, Berkeley Unified School District.
There is no way for any of us to describe or understand the impact of a diabetes diagnosis on a family to other individuals who haven't experienced it. You know, what we find initially with families is that they're just shell-shocked. They have sort of no idea what to do next, but they know that all of it's very, very important.
Jonathan was very young when he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It was a very difficult time. Statewide, there was only one nurse for every 2,200 students. SF Gate, August 12, 2013. Larissa Cummings, Staff Attorney, Disability Rights, Education and Defense Fund, DREDF.
School districts were simply not responding to this service need, and children were suffering and families were suffering too.
Ocean View Elementary School is proud to present this diploma to Jonathan Mahmood upon successful completion of kindergarten. When I told Ocean View Elementary that Jonathan had diabetes, the principal looked me in the eye and said, "What can we do to help?"
At school, Jackie gave me insulin shots. She was an aide at my school and had diabetes herself. I didn't realize how lucky I was to go to Ocean View. I heard about other schools that refused to help kids with diabetes. Some kids even had to transfer to new schools.
There were parents calling us saying they had to run from their workplace 50 miles away to administer insulin to their child. Children as young as 5, 6 were not being served at all by schools all over the state.
In 2005, DREDF and co-counsel Reed Smith LLP filed a lawsuit on behalf of the American Diabetes Association against the California Department of Education over its failure to address the needs of children with diabetes to receive insulin at public schools.
We had to tell stories about families who were being served by schools to convince the state Department of Education that it would be a reasonable approach to train unlicensed school personnel in the absence of school nurses so that children's needs could be met.
Jonathan's story was used in the lawsuit.
When I was 8, I could give myself insulin shots. The staff member supervised, but I did everything myself.
In 2007, we were cheering. It was August. Because the state agreed to settle that case, agreed to send out a message to all school districts saying, in the absence of a nurse, you can train unlicensed school personnel.
2 months later, several nursing organizations filed a lawsuit against the California Department of Education. 6 years of litigation followed.
We lost in the trial court, we lost in the appellate court.
San Francisco Chronicle by Eric Alday. For parents, court ruling alleviates insulin worries. School staff cleared to administer insulin shots to diabetic students. Jonathan Mahmood, 16, a diabetic, checks his blood sugar at home.
It took nearly 10 years to get to this victory that is an important and critical vindication of children's rights in schools. We are really gratified about this decision. It was issued just about a year ago by the California Supreme Court, and it finally made clear that California state law does not stand in the way of unlicensed school personnel from being trained to administer insulin in public schools.
Yvette Fan, MD, Pediatric Endocrinology.
We want someone who's qualified to give injections, but we also know that it doesn't just have to be a nurse who's able to give injections. So for example, patients give injections, parents give injections. So I do feel if someone is trained appropriately that it's appropriate to have someone besides an RN, especially if they're in charge of multiple schools and they can't be at everyone's lunchtime at the same time, then it does make sense if someone is willing and can be trained and can be observed to be competent. I think that it's totally appropriate to have another person give an injection that's not an RN.
It's very challenging to actually help individuals in education understand that in order for students with diabetes or other chronic illnesses to actually be able to access their education, they actually have to have their medical care, their medical needs met.
Tammy Banau, Assistant Principal, Albany High School.
When a parent first comes to us and tells us that their son or daughter has diabetes, we first ask them what do they need, what does this student need, what is the doctor recommended. From there we sort of make decisions about what happens next. Usually we have a health plan which identifies for the teachers all the things that the student may need during the day. If the health plan does not serve the student enough, then we might go to the level of a 504 plan.
Tidra Grogans, Counselor, Albany High School.
In the 504 process, the parties involved are the family, the parents, as well as the student, Ms. Banau, who is our coordinator, and myself, the counselor. And we're a very good team. And what happens with Jonathan in particular is that the parent, Barbara, would meet with me before school starts, and what she would like to do is know who the teachers are, and then we have a meeting set so that all the teachers are able to have a mini training.
I'm satisfied with the Supreme Court ruling that school personnel can give the shots. I've been trained, I get trained each year.
The challenges are really supporting that child and getting them back into their world, because developmentally that's where they want to be. And at the same time supporting that family so that they feel safe and comfortable knowing that they can also start to try and figure out how to resume this new life.
Nurses are needed for many health-related issues at school, but giving insulin shots isn't one of them. The easiest and safest solution is to allow willing school employees to be trained to help. The help I got when I was younger gave me lots of confidence to learn how to do it on my own.
I am so proud of Jonathan. He has the best attitude about his diabetes and doesn't let it stop him from doing anything.
When kids are first diagnosed with diabetes, it is very stressful. Let's make it as easy as possible for them.
Produced and directed by Jonathan Mahmood. Camera, Barbara Wright. Editor, Pamela Uzel. Special thanks, Larissa Cummings, Staff Attorney, Disability Rights and Education Fund, DREDF, Yvette Van, MD, Pediatric Endocrinology, Cynthia Van Tynes, RN, BSN, CDE, Pamela Uzel, Tidra Grogans, Counselor, Albany High School, Tammy Banau, Assistant Principal, Albany High School, Ricky Moreno, District Nurse, Berkeley Unified School District, Albany Unified School District, Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund, Reed Smith, LLP, American Diabetes Association, Children with Diabetes, and the California Supreme Court. This film is dedicated to all the brave children living with a chronic disease and their family and community who support them, and to my mother, Barbara Wright. Copyright Jonathan Mahmood, 2014.